Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of HP Critical, a podcast where my friends and I talk all things gaming. I'm Jerel, and I'm here with Greysun, who is one of my best friends in the gaming industry, who I've been trying to get on a show for forever. Hi, Greysun.
Hi.
How are you?
Thank you for having me.
No,
I'm
thank
very,
you.
very good.
Thank you for finally getting the time to come on. I've been trying to talk to you for forever. So for anyone who doesn't know, Greysun and I have been on this lovely games journalism journey together for about maybe like 5 years, I think it's been.
Yeah, I think when I was like 21, I started this whole thing. So yeah, like 5 years ago. Or like, yeah.
And Greysun and I actually, Greysun was my first ever E3 trip partner. It was 5 years ago as well, I believe.
Yeah,
I
oh
think
my
it was the
God.
2015 one, and I specifically remember one of my best memories of us being at E3 together was sitting in the PlayStation presentation, and that was the first time they had ever shown the Final Fantasy VII remake,
Mhm.
and you freaked out along with everyone else in the crowd, and I was
Yep.
just like, "What is this game?" And I had no idea what it was.
And so
And you
funny,
were
and now
like,
5 years later, you're like you know way more about Final Fantasy VII than I do.
no, I'm just like, oh my god, it's one of the best games ever. So, yeah, no, that was one of my favorite moments. But before I get into all of that, um, just tell everyone a little bit about yourself, who you are, and what you do, which is a really cool job.
Yeah, I work at twinfinite.net as a features editor, and twinfinite.net is basically just a video game website. We do news, reviews, features, opinion editorials. We do little fun quizzes and guides. Pretty much everything you would expect from a major video game outlet. My job as features editor is to basically oversee anything involving features for the website. So like I come up with content every month for the website, like for other writers to write about or for myself to write about, and just coming up with content that we can have just in case things are slow because of no video game announcements and stuff. Which is right now we have a lot of, so we don't have a lot of time to write too many features nowadays. Yeah, and I do a lot of editing, right? I write a lot of news stories. I write a lot of features. And yeah, like Jerel started, like Jerel mentioned, I started writing for video game sites about 5-6 years ago with a small site that Jerel was also writing for a few years, where we both just kind of made our way through this together, learning as we go. I had really no experience with writing before getting into all of this, and now I somehow have like a full-time job. I don't know how. Every day I'm like, there are so many people that could probably do this better than I can. But then there are days where I write cool stuff. I'm like, okay, I'm actually kind of decent at this, and I can do a pretty good job at like writing funny takes on video games, like writing fun opinion pieces and stuff.
I think imposter syndrome is very real sometimes. We can always feel like, how can anybody do this? But just to hype you up a little bit, Greysun, every time that I watch a Nintendo Accolades trailer and I see a quote from Twinfinite, I'm always like, yo, my friend is there. That's super dope. You did the Yoshi one, right? That came out in one of the accolades. Which game was it?
It was like 3 in a row. It was like I reviewed Yoshi's Crafted World. I reviewed Link's Awakening, and I reviewed Monster Hunter Iceborne, and they were all featured in their respective accolades trailers.
Exactly.
So
like, dude,
blown away.
That's a huge
I've had some other ones, but never like that many in the span of like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, and seeing stuff like that can be really what's the word? It like helps me redeem myself. I feel like I'm doing something. I'm doing the right thing right now. So yeah, thank you for bringing those up. I forget about those actually, because I haven't like reviewed a big game in a while.
I always remember those. Every time I see like an accolade trailer, I saw one. I don't remember what game it was, but I saw one recently, and like Twinfinite was on. It was something for Nintendo. Yeah. I don't think it was yours, but literally every time I see those, I always think of you. So like, congratulations on that. That's super dope.
I think it was we had a quote in Ghost of Tsushima, or our review score. I think if you might have seen.
That's super dope. Like, that's so cool.
Yeah,
I brag
I can.
about you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I feel like I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for you and my, Christy and Brandon and Marissa and all these amazing people that I met early on in the industry. We all just kind of helped each other, build
Yeah.
each other up, and I just always appreciated you and everyone else. Because I always feel like the position I am right now, I got so lucky because I kind of had a jump start where I went from like writing for free to writing full time.
Yeah.
I had a very small writing gig at another website, got paid. I did a few articles for a few months for a few dollars, and that was fun. But like, I've never really done the freelance game where I'm like pitching features to IGN and GameSpot and like pitching guides or doing all this other work and really like flexing on my creative muscles.
Yeah.
I kind of applied for Twinfinite. I volunteered there for like 2 years, I think almost, and then that's when I started getting promoted until I eventually got to this position that I am now. Yeah, it's not a lot to talk about because like I don't have like this history of like experience in the video games industry. It's like Twinfinite's pretty much everything I know. And in the future there could be other possibilities, but right now I'm here at Twinfinite, and it's been a great job, to be honest. I'm very lucky to have a full-time gig in the video game industry right now, especially during everything that's happening at the moment.
Yeah.
And I'm so thankful for it every single day of my life.
I am consistently and constantly proud of everything you've done. Literally all the time. So I'm so happy that we've been friends for so long. Like I said, you're one of my best friends in the gaming industry, and like just watching everything that you've been able to do over at Twinfinite. So as you know, HP Critical is very much all about diversity in video games. So I did want to talk to you a little bit as a gay Latinx person in the video game industry. How do you feel? Like, how do you feel about where the industry has gone?
Yeah, I actually haven't thought too much about Hispanic characters in gaming for some reason. But for example, like Black History Month, which was earlier this year, I made sure that we had a feature in the best Black characters in gaming. I didn't write it myself, but I as a features editor, I signed it to someone else.
Which I did read. I saw it.
Yeah. And then for Gay Pride Month, I'm pretty sure we had another like best gay character, their most iconic gay characters in gaming. Which I always try to have whenever stuff like that comes around. But besides that, there's not that much else to talk about when it comes to like gay representation because there's not a lot of it in video games. So there's only so many gay characters in gay games that you can talk about. Recently we've been getting a lot more of that stuff of like queer dating games and stuff like Dream Daddy and
yes.
Like The Last of Us Part 2 is one of the biggest AAA games I've seen in recent years to have a gay character. I don't know when the next time that's gonna happen.
Oh, actually, can we talk about The Last of Us a little bit without going into too much spoilers territory, if possible?
It's weird because I feel like I haven't talked about the game enough. Where I still don't know how I feel about it.
Oh, okay. Well, I do want to before I get into that, I know that you were excited. So something actually that happened to me, which made me think of a few ideas for features over at HP Critical, was that you, I think, sent out a tweet about how excited you were to see Miles Morales have a video game and how he was representative of you. I think that's what, like, pretty much, like, I'm paraphrasing, but I'm pretty sure that's what your tweet was. Yeah. And I remember seeing that, and I thought, wow, that's awesome, because I thought the same exact thing. Seeing him, and I know that he's half black and half Puerto Rican, and, Into the Spider-Verse was one of the best movies the year that it came out. Yeah. I mean, ever, yeah. And, yeah. That type of representation was really cool, and I remember when Spider-Man originally came out, Marissa was talking about how disappointed she was because she said that, this company had an opportunity to do something different, with Spider-Man. And instead of using Miles Morales, they did, another white, hetero, cis male again. I can't speak to it too much because I haven't actually played it. But it's really cool to see things where video games kind of excel and they progress. And so now, both of us have an opportunity to be excited about a character such as Miles Morales in a, AAA video game as a successor to a game that has already done so well. So I thought that was like, when I saw that tweet, I was like, that's really cool that both of us got to feel this way about a video game character, because we don't always get that opportunity. But anyway, The Last of Us 2. A little bit. I haven't finished the game yet, right? So I'm gonna try not to spoil myself. We try not to go into spoiler territory. But how did you feel about the without going like to whatever happens in the end of the
Well,
game?
well, how far are you first of all, so I know what to talk about,
I am. I
or what I can't
just.
talk about.
Do you remember they showed a part of the game in which the infected and it was like one of the PlayStation God, what are they called? One of the
The clickers?
no, it was one of the PlayStation presentations about The Last of
Oh, the
Us.
state of play.
Yes, it was during The Last of Us State of Play when they showed the clickers and they showed the humans and they were showing how you can make them go against each other in the underground area. That's where I am. I just did that. So I'm probably a few hours in. Honestly, it's taking me a very long time because I try to explore every single
I
thing.
remember that. I remember that scene you're talking about. I don't remember what part of the game is in. Like, did you just? Are you like in this? You're not in the half of the game yet, right? You haven't gone past
No,
like the middle point.
I
Okay,
have
okay.
not. No.
That's all I need. That's what I need to know.
Okay. So I wanted to know, how did you feel about Ellie's relationship in that game? Like, did it seem that her and Dina had like a genuine relationship? Did you feel that? Because I know that in the original DLC we find out that Ellie is gay, right?
Mhm.
Based on the character interactions between Ellie and Dina and what you've played of the game so far, without spoilers, do you think that Naughty Dog was just pandering in a way to make Ellie a lesbian, or do you think that it was done really well and it was actually part of the story and it fit with the story of The Last of Us 2?
Yes, I think like Neil Druckmann, who co-wrote the game, and Naughty Dog in general, I think they did a good job of like making Ellie's gayness not a big part of the story. If that makes sense. Like they don't really push in your face that she's gay, which I like when games do. They just kind of like they let her be her, which I would think no, they have. It shows her with Dina and they kiss and stuff, and that's fine. But I mean, like they don't really talk about the gayness all that much. Like there's like one scene in the game. It's like later on. It's not a spoiler or anything, but somebody says something about Dina and Ellie about their sexuality, and that's like one of the only things where they actually like mention like, oh, they're gay or whatever. But yeah, I think they do a good job of like of giving Ellie the representation like who she is. What I was gonna say. Oh, were you asking about Dina and Ellie's relationship?
Yeah.
So it was believable for me for sure. Like I liked their chemistry. Like whenever they were in scenes together, I loved watching them. Like I love watching them interact. Those two performances from those actors are also like just really fantastic, helping you like to really believe that relationship. But at the same time, I don't really think Ellie like was actually like, was that really the love of her life? Probably not. They're living in this fucked up world. Like
Yeah.
Dina's probably the only. I guess there's like two girls there, whatever. They're into girls or whatever. So she's like probably the cutest girl that she can find, and she ended up I feel like she ended up just really liking her, wanting to like spend the rest of her days with her, however long they may have. Ellie probably doesn't think she'll live for a long time, so I just think she kind of like got attached to this person and wanted to like ride it out with her. That's why like stuff happens later on in the game with them too. It didn't hit me that emotionally.
Okay.
Because I wasn't really too connected to their relationship because I didn't think it was that like legit. But I just liked their interactions together.
So one of the reasons that I asked you that is because I know we're talking a little bit about representation in gaming. So based on what I played of The Last of Us, I have not enjoyed it as much as I thought I would. Honestly, I need to obviously keep playing. I'm not that far in, but while I was playing the game, I kept thinking a lot of the times I was like, "Who cares?" I know this is probably really bad, but in the original, I feel like there was a very set. The pace and the tone was set, and you have this older guy who's protecting this girl, and he needs to take her here because she's secure, and then like the whole plot is there. And this one, I was just like, damn, Ellie, do you care that much? Like literally the scene that you were talking about with the guy, I was like, why do you like? There are literal zombies outside. Like why do you give a shit that she kissed a girl? Like I feel like we had a few more things to worry about. As opposed to like, oh, she kissed some girl, oh my god, I'm gonna die. Like, dude, calm the fuck down. Like, you can walk outside and die right now. And I've just been a little, I don't know, I've been a little iffy on their relationship, even the story in general. I understand that it's a story of, redemption and revenge and all that great stuff. I don't want to spoil too much, but I've just been kind of on it. So I wanted to see your being an LGBT member, your experience on playing the game in that manner. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah,
I-
just before we stop on that conversation, like I'm not like a huge fan of the story either, and you'll see where it goes. It tries to get a certain emotion out of the player, and I didn't like that. It felt forced to me, and I totally do not think the plot is anywhere near as like compelling as the first game, but it does some cool things that I do enjoy. And I just loved it so much because it's just so cinematic. It feels like you're watching. It's so corny to say or cliche, but like it's like you're watching a movie, and it literally feels like you're watching a movie,
Yeah.
And I was just enthralled by the performances and captivated by by everything. That sometimes I really didn't know if the story was bad or not. Because I'm just like, oh my god, this acting is so good, and I keep thinking about it more and more, and I kind of like start to dislike it. The more I think about it, but
God.
overall, it's a fantastic game. Like
Yeah.
I would recommend it to anyone who wants like a good story, like. And really good gameplay. I think it's a fine game.
Yeah, I mean, I love Ashley Johnson. She's one of my favorite voice actresses. So, like, I am always excited. And Troy Baker, is really good, obviously. And I don't even want to get into what happens in, like, the first hour of this game. Because literally, I was like, I won't lie. I was playing, and I was like, why did this happen? Like,
that's something that I didn't like. I know you're talking about, and I mean, I feel like it's not a spoiler, because, I don't know.
I mean...
Like,
I just felt like all of it was unnecessary. I was literally like, I feel like this game could have been exactly the same had that not happened. Like, this is so like, but okay, like I guess it must happen.
I wasn't affected by it emotionally at all.
At all.
It was just random to me. Like, why are you guys doing it? Why like this? Like.
Yeah. So I see that we felt the same way. And one more thing I want to talk about this. I know this isn't a Last of Us podcast, but since I have you here, and we're talking about representation in gaming, how did you feel about Abby's character? And let me say, I think one of my favorite voice actresses and actresses in general is Laura Bailey. She's fucking amazing. I have followed her career a lot, and I know she got a lot of shit about Abby, because Abby, is a character who is represented that is not as like the base female type that you would think. She's strong, she's muscular. I mean, you've played Overwatch before, right? I think like once or twice, maybe.
I've watched.
Oh, because JV plays Overwatch. Yeah. I mean, Overwatch has those character dimensions for characters. Like, what did you think about Abby and all of the discourse that came around her character design?
I have no problem with it. Like, I think most of the discourse about that is like people just either they're jealous of how strong she is. There's probably some guys who are jealous that she's stronger than they are.
Yes.
Like, oh, girls can't have bigger muscles than me. Oh, and I think a lot of the leaks that happened, people thought Abby was a trans character. At least I did before I played the game. I thought Abby was trans the entire time while I was playing Last of Us Part 2. And I was very confused, but that wasn't the case. And I think just people being hateful people on the internet, of course, are going to disagree with that, and they don't want that in their games. And of course, I disagree with that. I'm sure you do too. I think it's nice to have representation and show off different people. No, they're not different from us, but you know what I mean. It's showcase. It's just you're showcasing all kinds of people and putting them out there and wanting to make it okay. And that's why, we have these little gay characters in video games from time to time. Like, they have little cameos here and there, but they're never the main character. But it's like, these people are wanting these gay people to eventually become, like, hopefully be like the main character of a video game, or like have their own movie franchise or series, just to make it more common, well known, make it normal, as it should be.
Yeah.
But Abby, as a character, I thought she was fine. I think they just wanted to paint her in an opposite light of Ellie, where like she's like, you're like, oh, Abby's such a good person. She does this, she does this, she does that. And Ellie becomes like this kind of monstrous character towards the end of the game. The more you go on, it's like, oh wow, she's kind of taking things a little bit too far. Like, you're kind of, I don't like this right now. You want to love Ellie, but she becomes this character in this game that you don't really like towards the end, and you start to. I like Abby a lot, but at the same time, it was hard for me to like choose between the two of them. They're both fine to me. Mm-hmm. But Ellie does some things I don't really like in this game, and Abby does some things I don't like in this game. They're both just like flawed people. They're humans. And I think that's why it's like a weird I love hate them sort of thing.
Yeah. I can't talk too much shit about this game because I do appreciate the fact that they do have like two very strong female characters in it that you play as. Like, it's cool that you play both of these characters, and they're both women, and they're both very different. Even like from body type, they're very different. And then you also have Dina there, so I think the female representation in The Last of Us is really cool. But story wise, even like hearing you say that Ellie has already done some shit, and I'm like, girl, why? Like, this is
no, you're gonna hate her, dude.
Oh, great! I already don't like her, so this is just I'm already just like, girl, why are you doing? Like, I feel like you're already doing too much. So now I'm
piss me off.
Great.
She pisses me off.
Wonderful. So last thing I want to talk about representation in gaming. Is there a game that you think does a really good job at showing representation, whether it be for Latinx characters or gay characters or anything that really resonates with you, or even it doesn't even have to be a game, a character or a journalist or anyone that you can think of that you really look forward to playing or hearing from.
Literally the only series that comes to mind is Life is Strange.
I knew you were gonna go there.
I feel like you knew I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
I'm like, damn, they have gay characters, they have black characters, they have Mexican main characters. You can like choose to be gay if you wanted to or not. It's totally cool. They have like they tackle like religion and sexuality and suicide and oh my god, like those games aren't perfect, of course, but the first Life is Strange to me was such a powerful experience. Right by the end of it, I was sobbing like a child. And I think the second game especially does a good job of representation. The two main characters are Mexican American, if I remember correctly, and on this journey through California on their way to go to Mexico, they're running away from the cops. They run into this Trump supporter. They run into like this crazy, like evil. I'm not saying Christian people are evil, but like an evil, like an over exaggeration of what Christian people are like, like very evil or something. And I think it shines a light on like how Hispanic people are treated.
Yeah.
From the perspective of white people, or how the other way around. How you know what I mean?
Yeah, I get you.
Playing through the eyes of an Hispanic character, and seeing how white people are treating them, and seeing how these Trump supporters or evil people are treating them, and it's really cool to see. That studio in general, Don't Nod, does some really cool things. I think their next game is called Tell Me Why, and the main character is a trans. So I think that's really cool. I don't really know the story. That's really all I know about the game. I hope it's told the story's told in a good way, and it's not like shining a negative light on that at all. But I'm sure that they'll handle it well. And
I mean, if their past games are any representative of how they're going to go, I have high hopes for that as well. And the reason that I wanted to talk about positive representation is because it's a great segue into the Positive Players podcast, which is your brand new podcast that I would love for you to tell us more about.
Oh my god! Yes, I'm so excited. Yeah, it's called the Positive Players Podcast, and it's actually something like I've been wanting my own thing, like my own podcast, for probably like the past year now, but I didn't really know what to do or how to start it. So I kind of just like one day I was like, I really want to do this. So I started coming up with names and ideas, and I think the name popped up in my head first. And then I kind of like designed a theme around that name. I just knew I wanted to like have cool people on the show that I like in the industry, and friends that I follow, and people who I think are positive in the gaming community, just talk about games and how they got started and where they come from and what are their favorite games, and just have like a cool conversation about that, especially during this pandemic when people are, things are getting a little bit closer to normal, but mostly people are still working from home. People are isolated, keeping away from others. And it's hard to stay positive throughout these dark times. So I wanted to make a podcast like that, and it's also something that'll stand the test of time, even when this is over, because there's always time for a nice like positive conversation. So yeah, I just wanted to basically shine a spotlight on a lot of the people in the community that I really vibe with, and yeah,
It's been I'm looking forward to hearing all of it so much, as you already know, especially because I know some of the people that are going to be on there, and I can confirm that they are positive people. So that's been really really cool. Is there anything specific that makes you excited about this podcast? Like what do you, if you had to sum up why someone should listen in like one sentence, like what makes the Positive Player podcast the thing? You know, like what makes it the thing that we all want to listen to?
Oh man, this is
Aside
hard.
from me being on it, I'm just out there. I'm in it, so you know. Aside from me being on there, and I'm just kidding. Like, what's something that you really look forward to doing with this podcast? Like, I know you want to have like a positive, you want to show, you know, a positive experience for everyone, like something positive to listen to. But like your goal, like your dream of this, like what is that? Like, what is that thing that you want to happen?
So I'm someone who sometimes can be a little bit negative about certain things in the video game industry or just life in general, where I'm like, oh, that sucks, or like
You
I
can
hate
be,
that.
yes.
I'm never gonna play that. I don't like that game. Like
Yeah.
I'm thinking Dark Souls is coming to my head, like Microsoft Xbox games, like
Ooh,
like
oh gosh.
not saying they're bad. It's things I generally don't play. Um, and I just wanted to work on becoming more of a positive person and shining a light on things that people might take the negative route with. And finding like the bright spot, you know, like I'm on my podcast. I've been asking people. I forgot to ask you, but I've been asking people like, tell me a positive thing about a video game franchise that you would say you hated, and that kind of makes them think like, okay, I guess Halo has, you know, actually kind of like Halo, but you catch my drift. Like,
Wait,
I feel like
okay,
you would
but
say
now you have to
you
tell
want
me
it.
one. Yes, you got to give me a
Okay,
positive thing about a franchise you don't like.
I guess I don't like Crackdown. I never
That's
played
because
a Crackdown
Crackdown is
game,
bad. Like, this
but
is
we can also say that.
yeah.
Okay.
What can we say?
Crackdown, the new Crackdown 3, the new one, the voice actor is I forgot his name.
Terry
Do you know his
Crews.
name? Terry Crews.
Terry Crews
And
is not
Terry
great.
Crews has a great
So
voice.
oh, that's the
Crackdown 3 has a great main actor in the leading role of the
wow.
game.
I actually don't think so. Terry Crews.
And I hear the collectibles are fun to collect. So
Okay. I'll go with the
there you go.
collectibles because Terry Crews has been a little problematic recently, so
Oh,
he gets no help from me on that one. That was rough, Grace. You're really reaching there.
Yeah. That's also a franchise I know nothing about, so it's hard to talk about it anyway, in general. So
No, but that I mean, thank you, and thank you for creating the Positive Player podcast. I think that's why I'm so looking forward to listening to it myself, because I can also be very much like you know, everybody. I talked about it a little bit. Everyone knows that I'm a graphics whore, so I can be very dismissive of games a lot if they don't look a certain way. Octopath Traveler was the game that changed it all for me, because I never played those styles of games, and then I played that one and I was like, oh, this is beautiful. Like, I might be able to give this a chance. And it even helped me get through the original Final Fantasy VII on Nintendo Switch, which looked really bad. But, you know, the story was compelling, and I was able to, you know, I'm able to grow from it. So that is what I look forward to when I'm able to listen to your Positive Player podcast. I think it's really going to be something that will help expand, you know, our own horizons of games, because even like you mentioned, you know, I'm very much a PlayStation fan, but I also like Nintendo, so it's really cool to be able to talk to people like you who has played a lot of Mario and Zelda, whereas I've played, like, I actually haven't played any Mario games. Aside from party games, I've literally never played like any Mario RPG. I never played any of that. So Paper Mario and the Origami King is going to be my first one if I ever get around to it. But, you know, being able to have conversations like that, or even the conversation that we had about, you know, The Last of Us 2, and being able to talk to someone else in the gaming industry who is LGBT, who is a POC, I think it's really cool for us to be able to represent those parts of game journalism that aren't necessarily there, you know. I know that they have increased, especially with the Black Lives Matter movement. You know, I've seen a lot of more people being able to get opportunities to go on like a Nintendo voice chat or something for IGN or something like that. So it's been really great, but sometimes what usually happens with that is that it picks up traction for, you know, a month or two.
Yep.
and then it kind of goes away, unfortunately. And that's also somewhat a part of the reason that I created HP Critical, because I know that there are a lot of people who have voices that are, you know, different from mine, because we have different backgrounds, because we are of different races, because, you know, I'm gay, they're straight, you know, all types of things. So I cannot speak for everyone. But that's why I'm so excited about the Positive Player podcast and what you're having, and you just being able to be who you are and talk to people and have them on.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it. Like it's just the perfect time too, because I don't talk to anyone. I mean, even before COVID, I don't talk to anyone. I just stay home and work all day, and then
Yeah.
I talk to my boyfriend, and that's it. Maybe someone on a Discord or something. But you know, this gives me an opportunity to reach out and talk to people in the community and just be like, hey, you want to be in my podcast? Like I don't know how long I plan on doing this, but I hope I can do it for a good amount of time, and I'll get to talk to like dozens and dozens of different people in the industry and their experiences, and that's what's exciting to me. Where there are people I'm planning on asking to be on the podcast, and hopefully if they say yes, it's like, wow, I'm actually talking to this person, like they're on my podcast. It's just so cool. Like, and I think it makes other people interested because they probably never heard, like let's say for example, like I get someone from IGN to come on a podcast. It's like people will see that podcast, I'm like, oh wait, I never really heard them talk about like how they get started in the industry and stuff like that, because they just listen to them on IGN podcast and they just hear about what games they were playing, or like their review of a game. You know, this is like, it doesn't always have to be about a video game. You know, we can just talk about our life and shit, you know, other things that we're doing to keep us busy or keep us like entertained right now, and how our lives are doing right now. And just so exciting. And I think I like having the shorter style, like 30-45 minutes too, because it just, you can pop in, listen to it, you know, it's little like entertaining little bite-sized little podcast.
Yes, honestly,
like not 3 hours long, like
they're the best. Let me tell you, 30 to 45 minutes is always the best. I always try to make our podcast that, but for some reason we all talk too much. So they always go over, but I'm always like, let's shoot for 30 to 45 minutes. And then we end up going for like an hour and a half. I'm like, but they're always great conversations, so I can't complain too much. And speaking of great conversations, I'm going to invite you to my next podcast on the podcast. So if you say no, everyone who listens to this is going to be very disappointed in you. But I definitely want to have a podcast about being in relationships and gaming. And
oh my God.
I need you on it, so you have to say yes right now.
Yeah, I would love to.
Okay,
that's so much fun.
Locked you in. Now you can't be busy when it happens. Like we got to make it happen. It's definitely one of the ones I want to talk about. I wanted to do it actually for Pride, but you know, things happen and got a little behind.
Yeah.
So I'm definitely excited and looking forward to that. But before we close out, please tell everyone where they can find you and plug out your stuff.
Sure. You can follow me on Twitter at Greysun Morales. You can also find my work at twinfinite.net. And you can find my podcast, Positive Players Podcast, on Instagram, and then on Twitter at Positive Play Pod. Yeah, and you can find the podcast on Apple, on Spotify, pretty much the big streaming services. Yeah, and I would appreciate it if you guys would give it a listen. Right now, well, it depends when this is going. There are episodes for you to listen to, so check it out.
And
I don't know when this is going to go up. So.
Anyone who follows us on HP Critical or follows these podcasts, all of that will be in the description for this episode. Also, if you follow me on Twitter, which I know some of you do, I literally will retweet all of his stuff when it comes out, so you'll be able to follow Greysun and Twinfinite, of course, and everything he does over there as well as the Positive Player Podcast, which I'm looking so forward to hearing more of. I know how my episode goes, but I can't wait to hear everyone else. I'm super excited.
Me too.
It's gonna be super dope. Make sure you guys check it out. And thank you so much, Greysun, once again for talking to me. Finally, it's been so long.
Thank you.
I've literally been doing this for a year, and you have not been on yet. An entire year you haven't been on.
I don't know what happened. I'm mostly free, so I don't know.
I don't know either. But also, thank you everyone, by the way, who listens to this podcast. We've finally reached actually over 1,000 listens, which is dope. So thank you guys. I never thought that we would ever reach this. So thank you. And thank you, Greysun, once again for coming on. Also, Greysun is a Patreon member. So thank you, Greysun, for
Of
all
course,
your help and support. And you've just been,
anytime.
an amazing best friend to have in the gaming industry. So thank you again. And I'm happy you said anytime because I would love to have you on more often. So thank you. And thank you everyone for listening. And we will see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.